Nelson Mandela Solutions Part 2. 13. Does Mandela think the oppressor is free? Why? Why not? Ans. Mandela thinks that the oppressor is not free because a man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred, he locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. 14. Why did such a large number of international leaders attend the inauguration? What did it signify the triumph of? Ans. A large number of international leaders had gathered to attend the inauguration ceremony of the first democratic non-racial government in South Africa. 15. What does Mandela mean when he says he is simply the sum of all the African patriots who had gone before him? Ans. It is not the hard work and struggle of one man or 1 year, but it is the overall hard work and struggle of many people through years of struggle and effort that South Africa at last got its freedom. A large number of black leaders sacrificed their lives fighting against the policy of apartheid. Mandela just followed their path. He is simply a part of the freedom movement started by the leaders who had gone before him. 16. Would you agree that the depths of oppression create heights of character? How Mandela illustrate this? Can you add your own example to this argument? Ans. It is true that depths of oppression creates heights of character. Experience is a great teacher. The luster of gold is seen when it is burned and refined in the fire. Likewise, struggles of life gives birth to high quality of people. World history is full of examples where oppression produced great leaders. In South Africa, decades of oppression and brutality produced great leaders who possessed heights of characters. It produced leaders like the Oliver Tambos, Walter Sisulu, the Chief Luthulis, the Yusuf Dadus, the Bram Fischer, the Robert Sobukwe and Mandela. They were men of extraordinary courage, wisdom and generosity. 17. How did Mandela's understanding of freedom change with age and experience? Ans. Mandela was not born with a hunger to be free, but he was born free. As a small boy, Mandela felt he had complete freedom as long as he abided by the rules of his parents and village. He was free to run, swim and have a pleasure of riding on bulls. But soon he realized that his boyhood freedom was an illusion. As a student, he realized that he could not stay out at night, read what he pleased and go where he wanted. Even these were only transitory freedoms. As a young man, he realized that his lawful freedom and right had been curtailed. Not only he was suffering, but his brothers and sisters of South Africa were prevented from getting their basic and honorable freedoms. This realization made him to join the South African National Congress. He wanted his people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect. 18. How did Mandela's hunger for freedom change his life? Ans. Mandela's hunger for freedom made him to join the South African National Congress. He wanted his countrymen to live their lives with dignity and self-respect. It was his desire for freedom that transformed him completely from a frightened young man to a brave and bold man. He was once a law-abiding attorney, but he was forced to become a criminal. From a family-loving husband, he turned into a man without home, and from a life-loving man he was come to live life like that of a monk. 19. What according to Mandela is true freedom? Ans. When Mandela was a boy, freedom for him meant to run freely in the fields and swim in the streams. As a young man, he wanted his basic and honorable freedoms of achieving his potential, of earning his living, to marry and to have a family. According to Mandela, true freedom means freedom not to be obstructed in leading a lawful life. 20. Discuss the aerial display from the lesson Long Walk to Freedom. Ans. A few moments later, after Mandela had ended his speech, everybody lifted their eyes in surprise to see a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers that rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was a display of great accuracy and military force. It showed the militaries loyal to democracy and to the new government that had been freely and fairly elected. 21. Who was Nelson Mandela? For how many years did he spend in prison? Ans. Nelson Mandela was the first black president of South Africa. He spent 30 years in prison. 22. What took place on 10th May 1994? Ans. The inauguration ceremony for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government took place on 10th May 1994. 23. Where did the ceremonies took place? Why were the ceremonies so important? Ans. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre. The ceremonies were important because it was the nation's installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. 24. Who were the other person who took oath along with Nelson Mandela? Ans. The other persons who took oath along with Nelson Mandela were M.R. de Klerk, the second deputy president, and Thabo Mbeki, the first deputy president.